meetings, workshops, where you're going to learn how to fill out an application. Some to keep, some to not. It's interesting that much of the money has been directed to those companies that take this very seriously, because I would say almost 3/4 of the job is the application. What you put in that application is very important, very, very critical. So we have had every year almost $3 billion in applications, and right now we're down to $500,000–600,000. And they tried 4 times to get rid of the program altogether, but we got enough guys on both sides and gals, and so they can't do that. So I want to say to Deputy Chief Bruce Kaufman, thank you for following through on the workshops. FEMA does a pretty darn good job in laying it right out. Laid it all out in the first year of 2004. And congratulations to you, because you and your associate and your guys there are the reason why we're here today. After applying for the federal assistance funds, Kearney received more than $200,900 through the Assistance to Firefighter Grant, the FEG program, to ensure that Kearney's firefighters are properly equipped. So now we're going to get self-contained breathing apparatus. I think that's pretty important. Fire prevention software we didn't have 16 years ago. Arson and investigation training. This is very critical to what our new responsibilities are as firefighters. The chairman of Fire Services in the Congress, as co-chair of Public Safety in the Congress, I can tell you that there is no bigger priority that I have down there than what we're talking about here today. When we first started to think of this legislation, I called in local firefighters and those from beyond, and some retired firefighters to talk about the concept that I had, which ironically, that concept was in front of me in 1992, when Patterson had a tremendous fire, burned down the whole city block. My brother's building, the whole thing went down. We had more fire companies in there than I've ever seen in my life. The state troopers were there. Everybody was there. I was rushed to the hospital. I was the mayor of the town. And I was rushed to the hospital because I had inhaled so much smoke over the 14 hours. You know, the state trooper said to me, gee, your lips, Mayor, are getting blue. So I had 9 or 10 needles in me on the way to the hospital. I survived. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But we came back to the hospital and went home. My wife said to me, you're not going back to that fire. And the doctor said you can't. I showered and went back to the fire. Stayed another 16 hours. I was there. In fact, the governor of the state at that time, Jim Florio, was with me when we carried out the firefighter that we lost in Iowa City. And I vowed to the governor, that I would never forget this, and hopefully someday I'd have the motivation to see this through. Because if Patterson at that time had the proper information, because when they solidified the stores on Main Street, they cut out one of the firewalls. And so it's quite obvious that firefighters not only have to go put out fires, you have to know ahead of time what in God's name you're going into. Whether it's a chemical fire, you have a right to know now. You think of all the lives we've lost when firefighters didn't know what the heck they were fighting because that information was never available. Saving lives, protecting you. That's very important. From protecting you on the job to Eddie Donnelly protecting you and your pensions. I made that commitment when I ran for Congress in 1996. And I'm keeping my commitment, regardless of who is the governor of this state. The funds we talk about, $1,600,000 staffing for adequate, you guys were hired on that SAFER grant. Hired 12 new firefighters. I wish you the best. I wish your families the best. This is a tough job. It's like a politician. You very seldom see your family. And when you do, you gotta be grateful for those moments. So we're looking for a great, great job from all of you. I'm very proud of you. I want you to know that. And firefighters, it's a selfless job. It's a job of public safety. It's a serious job. We don't need a national catastrophe to understand what you go through day in and day out. Right now we're looking into making sure we have the research to prepare you for all that you've done in the life that you're about to lead. Whether cancer protection, protection for your family, God forbid, if you're lost in action. You are our soldiers, male, female. We're relying on you. And there are many in the Congress that I rub shoulders with every day who believe that the federal government has no responsibility to local fire departments, local police departments, local water companies, etc., all the way down the line. No responsibility. But would the town have the resources, the money, to bring on 12 new firefighters? And that's happening all across America. I saw towns, when I was putting this legislation together in 1998 and 1999, out in the West, they had to push the apparatus to the fire. And we're not talking about house upon house here, we're talking about out on the plains. So it was really sad to see, really sad to see. We prioritize funding for proven programs, like the two I mentioned. When we do that, we uphold our commitment to the first responders in communities like Kearney. So we just don't give you lip service. We don't just pat you on the back, nice job. We don't just put our grandchildren up on your fire apparatus. Those days are gone. We can still do those. They're great. That's great. These are the same people who put their grandchildren up there that don't want to save $1 so that we can help the firefighters of this city or any city. You understand what I'm talking about? So it's nice to pat the firefighter on the back. And then listen and plug your ears when we want to take away the earned pension that you've had, or the rights that you have, and the right to know that you have. One of the hardest hit sectors since 2008, when we had our Great Recession, was the public employees. And I make it my business every time I run for office, and this is not a political statement, but I make it my business to point out the public employees. I guess because I'm one. Look, there's a couple of bad actors who are lawyers. There's a couple of bad actors who are congressmen. There's a couple of bad actors that are firefighters, police officers. But you guys and gals do the job every day, and we take it for granted most of the time. And that's my job. One of my jobs And we do 30 issues every day in the Congress, 30. So I got to focus on things that I think need to be prioritized. And this is one of them. So 1 minute I'm talking about what should be our policy in Syria, and next moment I'm talking about how I'm going to help you guys and gals protect yourselves. That's the nature of the beast. Nobody puts a gun to your head to run for office. Nobody. We need dedicated federal funding, not just during recessions. So we fought hard, and we accomplished what we had to do in 2000 and 2003. Through these grants, Kearney received the assistance they needed to hire brave firefighters before us, who remain committed to keeping their community safe. That's a very solemn commitment that you made when you raised your hand. And I understand you're going to be sworn in again tonight, right, Mayor?
That's correct.
So I like to be on the front lines. The fireman in Patterson said I should have been a fireman. Well, maybe I missed my calling. I don't know. I try to do everything I possibly can to make you safer, put less risk into the job, just like our police officers. They're very important to me, very important. Our public employers are not just faceless government bureaucrats. Many people in Washington look at you that way. They are cops, teachers, and even firefighters. Over the past few years, we defeated extremism in many ways, worked in a bipartisan way to restore hundreds of millions of dollars that were cut out of the SAFER program and the Fire Act. But the fight is not over. Every year it's the same thing. When accounting for inflation, the fire and SAFER programs have experienced a reduction in real dollars at a time when costs of personnel, apparatus, and training continue to rise. It seems as if we're coming to ask far too many of our firefighters to risk their lives and our defense every day with insufficient staffing. You know, that reminds me, Ed Ryan, that reminds me, we have thresholds in the Department of Community Affairs for every department in this state. And this governor never talks about those thresholds, whether it's firefighters or police. It's in the law, it's written in the law many, many years ago. So you can't go below that threshold. You can't go below that threshold. It has a lot to do with insurance rates in communities and a lot of other things. So obsolete equipment is not acceptable. Inadequate training is not acceptable. Health checks that don't exist are not acceptable. We have an obligation to provide all of you the necessary resources to perform your jobs safely and effectively. And my friends, I'm thrilled to be here because a lot of people think I only got towns in Passaic County and Bergen County. They don't know the two towns I have in Hudson County, Secaucus and Kearney. I'm very proud of all of you. I'm here not only to have your back, to be on the front lines with you. I mean that sincerely. I work tirelessly. Again, nobody puts a gun to my head because I want to. I'm standing up here. I was in a sit-in the other night down in Washington on the floor, and I don't know how I hurt my back sitting in, but I did. But I want you to know I can imagine what you go through. And the many, many times you said, no, I'm okay, and you walked on. God bless you. God bless your families, and God bless Kearney. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Congressman. Words well spoken. What I get for not wearing my glasses, I neglected to recognize on the local level some representatives we have here. And want to recognize Cam O'Donnell, who's the president of our Officers Association, and Mike McCurry, who's the president of our Firefighters Association. Without those, we do have a great working relationship, and you know, we agree to agree, we agree to disagree, and you can't ask for much more than that. But our common goal is the same. So I want to, thank them and recognize them and thank them for coming out. Without further ado, I want to recognize Kearney Mayor Alberto Santos and ask him to come up and say a few words. Mayor.
Good morning. Good morning. This day is very important for us, and I want to begin with the contrast of where we were just a little bit over 5 years ago. Because of reductions under this governor in what he claims was state aid, really was our money, energy receipts that were payments for a lot of the properties we have in South Kearney. We were facing layoffs. We were facing reduction in workforce in all the departments, including the fire department.